So yesterday was a comedy of errors, and I'll probably throw some of those clips in here and some kind of update that we do. I don't know how the wind's going to do with this mic, but tried to talk about Abigail's birthday. Abigail's deep little voice, when she was a little baby, she'd wake up in the morning and she'd say, "Morning, Daddy." She had this deep voice, and it was so comical to have her wake up in the morning. We wonder if the grandkids are going to have those deep voices like that too. I mean, certainly Jet seems like he's going to be all man. Even his little cry sounds like he's serious about it. Heidi, hey, I can't imagine her with that deep voice. But so I'll probably throw some clips in from yesterday. It's a bit of a pointless endeavor trying to record while I work. It's been a little bit of a comedy of errors trying to get everything put together. So our emergency situation, because we don't have enough stuff to get us from point A to point B. Probably means this roll doesn't have enough to do what I want it to do. Because these blasted sheep are so difficult. You just can't win. But we'll bring 2 or 3 different things together here and see how it plays out. But I'll show you some footage yesterday of the cows. This 3 strands of wire that is containing the sheep at present, that goes around this kind of little double area that I've held them in for the last few days while we were busy with things. But we have to, these puppies, we got 2 puppies left. Anybody need a puppy? 2 puppies, got to find a home. We got to take all this wire down. First, we have a wire out there. As you can see, we have a wire out there that goes around to keep the cows in out there. And cows are easier to keep in than sheep. So we got to take that wire down and move it out into the alleyway where old Lulu's waiting. Lulu's not crossing that fence for nothing. So old Lulu's out there. We're going to give the sheep the alleyway, but the sheep will press their nose under the fence, so you got to put some juice on it because they don't have enough grass to really keep them interested. So take the cow wire, put it in the alleyway, get electric out there, and put the sheep out there, have the electric going from out there in a feeder situation so we can feed down to the new cow fence that we'll make a little bit bigger today. So this is going to take a little bit, and I'll try to get as much of it as I can recorded, but we're going to be a little bit getting it done. Where we built some fence and moved some fence, but that was a bit of frustration. But you can see, hopefully you can see how they've chewed up this grass and all this woody, reedy material. You see outside the fence how that material is still there, and inside they're starting to stomp it and chew it and break it, and we're cleaning it up. So I'll probably give them another day or 2. This is the latest section, and it doesn't look like much, but they will get down into this and clean all that up. And that's what we're shooting for. And we'll get all this busted up. Maybe I gotta run a mower, but they'll dig down in there, clean all this up so that when this comes back, it'll be all green, and we'll run them in here all summer. But you look outside the fence, And look at all that green grass they're going to get to eat over there. And that's what we're trying to do. Trying to recoup my laziness. Well, this is always a tough spot to mow. I'll have to bring the weed eater in and knock all this stuff down, clean up the garbage. But this has always been a tough spot to mow, and I've never been one for mowing. I always have a joke that says, I mow my yard twice a year, whether it needs it or not. Yeah, they're excited. They want in here. I'm sure that wind is howling through the mic, so probably won't be able to hear much of anything. Sheep are excited to move again, and I'm not excited to move them. As you can tell, we use whatever method we can. Close up a gap, close up a hole. So those cows, our cows are pretty trained for moving. You can see they already know I'm opening them up into this pasture, so they already know. Oh, that's where the green stuff is. So we'll get them out here. You watch and see if one of them doesn't try to go through that hole in that scaffolding instead of just going around. Maybelline, is Maybelline going to do it? Yesterday she went to that scaffolding. She went to this scaffolding. She's going to go around today. Normally one of them always tries to force their way through that scaffold. But off they go, looking for the green grass. So today for sure, maybe tomorrow, get them in there on that fresh green stuff, but I'll have to build some fence and see how that goes. That'll wind got my eyes watering. I'm late because I've been lollygagging and playing. You'd be surprised about that, I'm sure. Nonetheless, here we are. But we were talking about Abigail, and I always get these funny things. I always look for either facts or quotes or something to share with you guys. And the other day I had sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia. Sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia. And that's brain freeze. So it's interesting that I got that last week. And it was Abby's birthday. Thinking about Abigail, this brain freeze. The first time she ever had an ice cream cone, it shook her world, man. She was just, was she even 2? Who knows? So however old she was just a little baby. Had her first ice cream cone, and that brain freeze hit her. I'm sure she made a crazy face. I can't remember if she cried or not, but it definitely shook her world. She didn't know what was going on inside her head. The sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia, brain freeze. So Sunday we had cake and ice cream cake and all that. And I don't know if anybody got any brain freeze. Did I get brain freeze? Usually only get that when I eat an ice cream cone because you tend to lick the cone and push it up against the roof of your mouth. And that's really where it causes that issues, when that cold hits the roof of your mouth. So probably didn't get brain freeze this week. But sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia, brain freeze. Happy birthday, Abby. Sweet 16 the other day. And I know it's Tuesday, the 18th already, but yesterday, like I said, was a comedy of errors. Because one thing about the grass greening up is one thing about, you're ridiculous, Lucy. You are ridiculous. Me and Matt's got to get that brush pile burned. We've got some rain, so maybe the fire situation is better. and there's a chicken tractor we got to put together. But getting those sheep moved, and since I'm unsure as to what the audio caught and didn't catch, and we're crooked and sideways, and we got all kind of stuff going on today. And I may have to start flipping this camera around the other way, because my natural tendency is to look that way. But if I look that way, it looks like I'm looking more directly at you, because the camera's up there. It's weird. So I don't look sideways. I wonder if I can train myself. Let's try that. Into a position, and I gave him just a little bit of that alleyway, but winding up the line and switching line and the posts and everything, you got to do about 10 times as much work to keep the sheep in as you do the cows, and they are trouble. So I'm going to move them probably up in the rest of this alleyway today, if I haven't wasted all my time. But if I don't move them, they're going to go on their own, because even with the electric, they will just say, you know what, we can just pass through this one time. Then they'll have all my stuff broke to pieces. So I need to move the sheep today. It's tax day today, Lucy. Yeah. Well, we dutifully filed for our extension so we can have a little more time. But isn't that just such a big old pyramid scheme anyway? I heard a comedian, or maybe a radio talk show host, one time exclaim that you got to pay your taxes. Okay, well, how much do I need to pay? Well, we don't know. You need to figure it out. Well, how do I figure it out? Well, here's a formula. You take all the money that you've made and you figure out what you can deduct and what you got to pay, and here's the taxes you pay. Big, long, complicated formula. And then you send it in, and it's, well, you didn't send us enough. Well, how do you know I didn't send you enough? Because we know how much you're supposed to send us. Well, if you know how much I'm supposed to send, why don't you just tell me how much to send? Well, we need you to figure that out so we can tell you how much you need to send us. So, and then, well, we sent you too much. You sent too much, so we'll send you some back. It's a big pyramid scheme, really, because all they do is just reallocate the money. And I understand we pay taxes so that we can have better roads and better services and things like that. But I have been witness to a lot of this pork that is being sloshed around, you know, the billions and trillions of dollars that get allocated from the tax money that we send in. So-and-so needs, to build a bridge, and the bridge is going to cost X, but we need to allocate Y so that we can distribute all this money to all these different parties involved to help make sure that the bridge gets built for X. So instead of costing X for the bridge, it costs Y for the bridge, so that 10 or 15 of my buddies can get money. And it really is a grand scheme how that works, that the money is wasted and it sits out there. They had so much COVID money, they couldn't even figure out what to do with it. There are people now, they've got millions of dollars of COVID money in some of these towns and cities and townships and counties that they're trying to figure out, what are we going to do with all this money? So they're just making stuff up to do with it. The tax system definitely needs reformed. Very aggravating, very disappointing. And then every time there's more another need, they talk about increasing taxes. What they need to do is reduce spending. The revenue has been going up and up and up. They keep getting more and more money, and they're overspending it. So instead of reducing their spending or being disciplined, you certainly can't run your house that way. If you ran your house that way, if every time you got a raise, if every time you made more money in a specific year, you just spent and spent and spent and got a fancier car and more credit cards and more loans, and you bought all the gadgets that were available, and at the end of the year you said, well, I made more money, but it wasn't enough. You had plenty of money, you spent it in areas you shouldn't have, and the government's doing that now. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat, it's the same. The government spends too much money. They need to cut back on their spending. We don't need to send them more. They get more and more from us all the time. They need to cut back on the spending. We are come to the blood of sprinkling that speaketh better things than that of Abel. Hebrews 10:24. We are come to the blood of sprinkling that speaketh better things than that of Abel. So first off, the book of Hebrews is always trying to kind of say Christ is better. Christ is a better prophet. Christ is a better rabbi, better teacher. Christ is a better sacrifice. And it goes through all these comparisons in that manner throughout for the most part, the book is structured that way to tell the people that you had this prophet, you had this rabbi, you had this teacher, but Christ is better than all of that. You brought these sacrifices to the altar, but Christ is the better sacrifice, and that's the tone of the book. So when we go to Hebrews and we have a scripture like that, we are come to the blood of sprinkling. Well, the blood was always the sealing of the covenant. So we are sealed with a better covenant. When Moses would seal, or any other prophet, but specifically Moses, when he sealed the covenant with the people, he dipped the scepter into the blood of the sacrifice and sprinkled it over the people. Well, the blood of Christ is washed over all of us. Now, the second part of this is, as Spurgeon points out, it refreshes. It's a continual refreshing. And for the seeker, when the seeker comes to the blood, knows that they have been cleaned by that blood, not by the blood of any sacrifice that they took to the altar, but by the blood of Christ, they've been cleansed. And for the believer, they know that it's a continual refreshing. Spurgeon says if the believer doesn't want to go to that fountain daily, have you even ever been washed clean of it? You feel it, you know it, that if you've been cleansed of it once, you can't escape it. You have to go back. You yearn for it. It brings righteousness to our being. I know that nothing brings me more peace and more comfort in knowing that I depend on my Creator, the one who put all this together. When I look at the sky, even with this wind blowing behind me and whipping me around, I look at the clouds in the sky and the green in the trees. Just look at that tree down there, just greening up, and the beauty that it represents, and how all of this is going to be bursting. And if you live in a lower area, you know that you've got flowers that have been blooming, and we're a few weeks behind, but what great joy is going to come in the spring, knowing that the Creator put it all together. And my dependence on Him for my salvation says, wow, I'm refreshed daily. Every day I feel refreshed because of the work that He's done for me. In the simpleness of dandelions and violets in the green grass, I know that He has delivered me. I know that that blood has washed me clean. It refreshes me. I want to go to it daily. Every time that black dog of depression, every time there's a temptation of sin, I want to go back and go back and go back, that I can experience him over and over and over again. It's an unquenchable thirst.